we don't think Derek Carr is going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback, Michael, but he's no longer going to be the Las Vegas Raiders quarterback. That we know for certain. And Vegas Raiders general manager Dave Ziegler was asked about what they might do at quarterback on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast hosted by Taylor Lewan. Here's what Dave Ziegler had to say about their timeline in finding a new signal caller.
Myself and our group were in charge of filling the most important position on the team. And so, yeah, there's some, there's some pressure that comes along with that. And however we fill it, it doesn't mean we're going to have an immediate answer, this year. You know what I mean? And so, but at the end of the day, we have to have an answer,
right?
In some form or fashion, And so, yeah, there's pressure that comes along with it, and again, that's also part of the excitement too. Is that pressure? Is finding that guy?
Can you translate that for us, Michael?
Yeah, sure. But the way I read that is we could draft a guy, but he's going to sit. We're going to sign a veteran to get us through the next year, and we're going to keep searching to find the right guy. We're not going to just force it because we need a quarterback. We're not going to just force it. We're going to find the guy that fits what we're doing. We're going to scout inside out. And then when we get him here, we're not going to push him out there and destroy him. We're going to sign Jarrett Stidham back, let him compete, maybe sign a veteran guy, let him compete, draft a guy that we love and we can develop. I think it's no different than what Andy Reid did when he first went to Kansas City. Signed Alex Smith, okay? Traded for Alex Smith. Got him in there, won some games, got Alex Smith dressed up, built the rest of his team around Alex Smith. Oh, there's Patrick Mahomes. I'm going to go get him. I think that's what we're talking about. And I think you got to, the thing is all these Raider fans, they want to fire the coach every 2 years. Well, the reason you're not winning and you can't get a quarterback is because you never have a plan that lasts longer than 6 games. Like you got to be able to lay a foundation. Either you want to do it the right way or you don't. I mean, so that's really what it's about. Like, I think that's a really good answer he gave. He's like, look, we're going to keep finding a guy. But if I just take one, I mean, just take a – Doug Whatley took the E.J. Manuel. How'd that work for him? He got fired.
Mm-hmm.
You take one that can't play. I mean, Ryan Pace was able to take 2 of them. And both guys he took might not be able to play. I mean, Steve Keim took they took Rosen, and then he comes back and takes Murray. I mean, so like you got to take one that fits. You don't want to do it over again. Like that's the problem with this. You have team needs, and then you fill the need, and you still have a need.
Yeah, that's a disaster. Sometimes taking that guy that ultimately does not work out, especially if you continue to pour resources into that player there. So I guess based on hearing that quote and hearing how you translated what Dave Ziegler had to say, it sounds like Stidham probably coming back, maybe a free agent signing of Jimmy Garoppolo. People can make that connection knowing Josh McDaniels' scheme from their time back in New England. And then perhaps if the right quarterback is there at 7 to take that guy, do you ever foresee the Raiders trading up to take a quarterback in this draft, or do you think that they'll let somebody fall to them, and if that guy is who they like, they would take them and add him to the room there?
I mean, I think if the Raiders had a conviction about a player, they'll trade up to get him. Is there someone in this draft that they'll have a conviction about? I don't know. I think it's too early, but I do think they'll try to. Now they got to fix their roster. I mean, Femi, you can't have as many bad drafts as the Raiders have had with guys no longer on the team and still think you're going to be good enough, right? You just can't. I mean, I think they'll get Josh Jacobs. I think I'm sure they'll franchise him. We'll talk about it in the next block, but I think they'll do that. They'll keep him on the team, but they got to fix their defense. I mean, their defense, other than Max Crosby, they got to get better defensive players. They have no linebackers that can run. The secondary is not very – I mean, this is not a good team defensively. Like, when you blow Abrams, Farrell, Ruggs, you start blowing all those picks, go through it. What do you have?
You can't do that. And those are all first-round picks. like this roster should be so much better than it is right now.
It's and people have this expectation like the Raiders, it's like Carr's a Hall of Famer. The Raiders are a playoff team. The fact that the Raiders won as many games as they did is kind of like almost a miracle based on the talent level that they had. I know they got Devontae Adams, and he's great, and they've got to make sure that they have a way to do that. And, they've got a great running back, and they've got a tight end that they've got to get more out of, but they're going to have to improve their overall team to compete at the level.
You think somebody like Anthony Richardson out of Florida for the Raiders? I know we talked about him earlier in the pod, but based on what you're saying of they don't want to rush a guy out there if he's not ready, let him groom and kind of just develop in the quarterback room, maybe have some veterans ahead of him. Would that be a good fit for the Silver and Black?
I think if they felt like he could handle it from all levels, the work habits, I think it's too early to tell. What kind of kid is it? Like, that's the key, is who is the kid? If Richardson reaches the level of Jalen Hurts, it's going to be because he has Jalen Hurts-like character. Don't dismiss Hurts' character and why he became so good.
100%. 100%. And we talked about that after the Super Bowl and his development as a passer and just what he's done in Philadelphia there. It's probably the best quarterback in the NFC right now if Rodgers ends up leaving the conference, what he was able to do this past season.
Thanks for watching the GM Shuffle with Michael Lombardi. And for more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to VSiN Live and the GM Shuffle podcast with Michael Lombardi, presented by DraftKings and VSiN, wherever you get your podcasts.